I'm going to be answering 3 questions I've received from Catholics on how to fundraise. Hi, I'm Brice Sokolowski, the founder of CatholicFundraiser.net, and I'm going to be answering questions that I've received from people over the past few weeks on what to do with fundraising, especially in this pandemic. So when I'm recording this, we're currently in a pandemic, but I think what applies is going to apply regardless of wherever you are, pandemic, not pandemic, Lent, Easter, Pentecost, ordinary time. I think these are three very good questions that I think you're going to benefit from. So let's dive into these questions. Okay, now before, in fact, I dive into answering these questions, I want to make sure that you download absolutely for free the 10 Commandments to Catholic Fundraising. These are 10 things that I recommend that you do with your fundraising, because these things have really helped me with my fundraising. This guide has been downloaded thousands of times. The overall consensus is people really benefit from these 3 tips, these 10 tips that I'm giving with your fundraising. So make sure that you download it. The link is going to be included, usually right below. Just click it and get your free copy of the 10 Commandments to Catholic Fundraising. Okay, 3 questions that I've received over the past week on fundraising. The first one is, this person writes, people are overwhelmed with causes everywhere they turn, so much so there is a lackluster to give, or there is an overabundance to certain causes, and the methodology used is emotional blackmail in solicitation of funds, so much that it's not worth the effort. I'm assuming they're saying it's not worth the effort to fundraise themselves because there's an overabundance, lackluster to give, and people are blackmailing one another to fundraise. This is a very dark perspective of fundraising. Number one, there is not a lackluster to give. There might be a lackluster to give to specific causes, and that's probably because they're not very good. But what I can say with the Catholic apostolates that I'm helping, there is an overabundance of giving because they're doing a great job. So when you see a lackluster, or you think there's a lackluster of giving, don't think that it pertains to everything everywhere. There's a lot of great generosity out in the world right now. I'm seeing it in the fundraising that I'm doing. So there's not a lackluster. In overabundance, there's a lot of causes out there. There's some good ones and there are bad ones. We can't change that. So my recommendation is to be one of the really good ones. And this methodology about blackmail and solicitation, yes, there is a lot of bad tactics with fundraising. That's the whole reason I set up CatholicFundraiser.net, is to counter all of these negative or secular approaches to fundraising and find the Catholic way of fundraising. The church has been around for over 2,000 years. We've had plenty of saints have to fundraise, and they've left some thoughts and some ideas on how to do it. And for an entire year, if you go to either my podcast, my website, or my YouTube channel, you're going to see video after video, vlog after vlog, podcast after podcast on the saints' approach to fundraising. So sure, I really recommend, if you see something that you don't like, don't do it. But if you don't know what to do, go over to my website, CatholicFundraiser.net, and I think you're going to find some great ideas on how to fundraise. The second question is, there are poor areas that are I live in a poor area that financially struggles. So the question is, can I still fundraise? Well, the answer is yes. It's been statistically proven that less wealthy areas are more generous than wealthier areas. Wealthy parts of the country, and I'm talking specifically in the United States, but I think this would be around the world, is that they actually give less compared to everybody else. Now, the question is, these lesser populations, they can't give as much. Okay, well, that's a whole other topic, but their struggles financially, I wouldn't say it stops them from donating. And then this turns back to you. If you do want to fundraise and you live in this type of area, I think it should raise your bar to be an exceptional apostolate if you are getting money from people. And you know what? People like to give. And so don't rule anybody out. But at the same time, when you are asking, make sure it's a genuine ask and make sure that you're going to do something amazing with their donations. Otherwise, don't fundraise. The third question is, how do you get people to listen to new approaches versus the local church or their local church restricting new ideas? Well, there's not much you can do. And the reason I say that is, I think one of the first articles I ever wrote several years ago was on this whole concept of change. You have to change because the times are changing. It's not to say that everything is changing, but take, for example, this pandemic that we're currently in, but I think it pertains to outside of a pandemic. A lot of the things that we have to do is online because we can't speak to one another in person. We can't meet each other in person. So we are dependent on the internet. And the apostolates who took on the internet years ago and who are taking it on now are reaping the benefits. They're generating more donations than they've ever received, and I see this firsthand. And this gives the open door to them because you have all these other apostolates, parishes, dioceses, that aren't, getting up, ramping up with new ideas. And so, is it unfortunate for them? Absolutely, but it's opening the doors for other Catholic apostolates. Now, how do you get these people on board? Well, sometimes it's kind of like when you're growing up. You learn, when you fail, and hopefully you learn when you fail. And when you hit the bottom, hopefully you get a reality check and say, I think we should be doing something different. So that's my feedback on these three questions, these three struggles. If you have a question on how to fundraise, please just go over my website, catholicfundraiser.net, download the free guide, The 10 Commandments to Catholic Fundraising, and then you'll get an opportunity to ask a question, and then that question might be answered on my weekly podcast vlog. I hope this was helpful. God love you, and I look forward to speaking with you next week. Bye-bye.